Hey guys, WoWS and today we're taking a look at Laffey, the all-new American Destroyer campaign ship for this Halloween update. It is also known as the last Sumner, but, well, today we're going to go ahead, take a look at the ship, go over the stats, show off the commander, show off the build, and then show off a game in it. So if that sounds good to you, let's dive on in. And first things first, let's go ahead and talk through the commander. Now, my go-to for all American destroyers is going to be Vincent Mordiff. He's just my go-to guy. I run him with Bay and Sims, and then run him with Observant Rage, Mortar, 1,000 Cuts, Smoke on the Water, and Unstoppable. I guess technically we could switch it out for Sheltered Arms for a reason you will see, but this is sort of my default American build. Now, if you're not someone who has Mordiff, because he is a premium commander, the the other way you would want to run this is going to be to use the American Destroyer commander. Where is he? William Halsey. William Halsey is pretty much the exact same. He has pretty much the same exact things. Just you know, he doesn't have the unique skill. Mordiff's unique skill increases main battery reload time for destroyers, which for a gunboat is pretty important. So Mordiff is my go-to. As far as mod slots go, I'm running aiming system mod 1. Then we're using prop mod. Then we are running the concealment mod. And finally, we are running the main battery mod 3. So those are the mod slots. Let's now talk about the consumables and the stats. So, of course, you do have the damage control party. Exactly what you would expect. Then you get 2, count them, 2 super heals. These are very powerful and will get you out of a lot of trouble. So it's going to heal 325 damage per second, and it's going to heal it for 20 seconds, giving you 6,500 health that you are able to claw back, and you get 2 charges of that, which is very nice. It's going to reload in just at 2 minutes. Then we get to the shtick, the thing that makes Laffey unique in all of this, and that's going to be the smoke generator. Unlimited charges on this smoke generator. The way I want you to think about this smoke generator is take an American smoke, cut everything in half. The duration, about half. The dispersion time, about half. The reload time, about half of what a normal American destroyer smokescreen is. Which is really nice. It gives you the flexibility to kind of move around the map, to use this, to not be anxious about using your smoke, because instead of only having a small number of charges, you have an unlimited number of them, and you get it back in 2 minutes. So it's not too bad, really. And remember that 120 seconds starts counting after the consumable duration, the 15.9 seconds. So really, you're only looking at about 72 seconds between being able to have smoke on the map. So, just over a minute, which isn't too bad. It's actually really good. Finally, you have defensive AA fire, a 400% boost to your AA, but it's still not a lot. But hey, and you're gonna get 3 charges of that. Cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at the armor. First off, hit points. Thanks to Sims, we're up to 21,700 with an armor thickness between 13 and 20 millimeters and a fire resistance of 40%. No torpedo reduction. We can take a look at the armor. Guys, it's a Sumner-class. It's the default ship it's the Tier 8 tech tree for the Americans. It's Tier 8. It's the exact same that you're looking at right here. Main battery, 2-barreled 127s, reload time 2.6 seconds with a 180 time of 8.5 seconds. Max range on the ship is going to be 11.2 kilometers. Dispersion is going to be pretty good overall, just because it's a destroyer. They tend to be very, very, they tend to be pretty accurate overall. HE shell damage 2034 with a muzzle velocity of 792 meters per second and a 5% chance to set fire, and it will pen 21 millimeters of armor. So the usual American like, well, you know, you're going to have to hit very specific parts of other ships with that HE in order to do damage. AP 2,373 damage. Muzzle velocity, same 792 meters per second. Point blank penetration, 218 millimeters. At max range, 49. Ricochet angle of 45, guaranteed at 60. Fuse timer, 0.01 seconds, with a fuse arming threshold of 21 millimeters. Speaking of which, let's take a look. The hull is at 19, so the hull will not arm American AP. Cool. Just one of those fun things you can go and check. Torpedoes. 2 5-barreled, 533 millimeter launchers. They're going to go 8 kilometers. They're going to speed at 66 knots. Reload time is 140 seconds. Damage is 16,799. Torpedo detectability by sea is 1.4 kilometers, and they have an arming distance of 207 meters. Couple of things to note here. This is one of those. These torpedoes are weaker than the tech tree. It's kind of what this ship gives up for its other kind of buffs or benefits. AA, well, it's not great. Of course, this ship is famous for surviving surviving numerous waves of a kamikaze attack in which it shot down a ton of enemy planes. So that's why they gave it the AA buff. But the base AA stats are not great. 5 kilometer range, only doing 66 damage. Then the next ring is at 3.5 kilometers, where it adds 112 damage per second. And then at 2 kilometers, it adds another 93 damage. So planes really need to be on top of you before they start facing any sort of meaningful AA. And of course, you can boost that by 400% for a brief time, but this is definitely not the AA platform. Maneuverability. 36.5 knot top speed with a turning circle of 620 meters. Rotor shift time, 3.4 seconds. Reverse engine spool time is about 8 seconds. And a reversing engine multiplier speed threshold of 30 knots. Okay, that's just a lot. Anyways, top speed, 36.5 knots. Then we get to concealment. We are kind of a bit loud just because of our build. 6.1 detectability by sea, 3.2 by air, and finally 2.6 when firing in smoke, which hopefully you'll be doing a lot of in the ship. So that is the Laffey. Let's go ahead and take a look at a game in her. So welcome to North and welcome to the Laffey. And I guess the first thing we need to talk about is just the ship itself and what it's like to play. To me, it feels pretty much exactly like an American Destroyer. If you like American Destroyers, Laffey is just another American Destroyer. Its big quirk, its big gimmick is going to be that smoke screen. And if you know how to use smoke screens, you're going to have a good time in Laffey. If you struggle, then I think you're still going to have a good time in Laffey. That's because of what these smoke screens provide. I think basically a normal American Destroyer player does have to be incredibly conscious about when they are deploying their smokes for a numerous number of reasons, right? They have some of the longest lasting smokes in the game. The recovery time on them is incredibly long. And they have very few charges of them. So if they're going to use them, they have to pick the right moment to use them. Me personally, I usually end up finding myself saving them for moments. Saving them for, oh shit, I've been spotted in a place I'm not willing to be spotted, or I need to break contact, and it's my get out of jail free card. So for me personally, I keep it as my get out of jail free card during the match. What Laffey does is it seriously reduces the penalty for the get out of jail free smokes. It allows you to still use them to farm, if you make a mistake in setting up your smoke screen in the wrong place and the battleships end up sailing away and you're not able to farm for a long amount of time, you get another chance, because as we were talking about, take an American smoke and cut everything in half. That is what the Laffey smoke screen is. It disperses for half as long. It reloads in half as long. It is around for half as long. And that's fantastic. Anyways, first thing we're going to see on deck, you may have said, Tommy, those are some weirdly placed torpedoes. You aimed them right at the battleship. I was like, yeah, that they weren't playing for the battleship. They're playing in case the Z-44 wanted to score across this channel. And lucky for us, he did. And he's going to go ahead and eat a torp. I don't know what our Siegfried was doing. He's charging down the middle. And, hey, God bless him. He's having fun. I'm having fun. We've gotten our first kill. And we've only taken no damage. We've just taken some splash damage from the enemy. So overall, pretty good trade there. We have B, as the Z-44 didn't want to contest the cap against us. And I'm more than happy to take that. As far as what else we're going to do, we're kind of retreating back. We see Amalfi is pushing up in a weird way here. Amalfi could be pretty deadly to us, especially if he has that SAP. So we're going to try to start focusing him down. Of course, if he starts to turn his guns our way, guess what? We have that smoke screen. We have teammates spotting him. We have the ability to disengage from the potential harm and for it not to impact our battle overall. We only get a couple shells in. Thankfully, Amalfi goes down. We have 2 caps. It looks like we have fairly well secured 2/3 of the map, and we are all tied up on ships. So, very good positioning there overall. Let's go back to talking about Laffey, as we are now going to play defensively here within C, since we know where the enemy destroyer is. We may try to drop some torpedoes off in his direction, and then just sort of play defensively as the rest of the enemy team wants to push into C, and we will use island cover and our smokes in order to whittle down their defenses as they push into us. Laffey, going back to the ship. Outside of the smoke screen, we do have the AA. I was able to test it a couple of times. It's not the most impressive. Even with the amount of air power that's out and around, it does still feel weird to run into very many carrier games in the upper tiers right now at Tier 8. I don't feel like I ran into very many. It was mainly just planes from the multitude of airstrikes that are out and about. And when dealing with those in Laffey, weren't getting very many kills on those planes, even with the AA active, just because they disappear so quickly when they drop off their payloads. So the AA isn't anything to really celebrate, to look at, to think is great. But, it is a key part of this ship's history, this ship's story. So it makes sense why it's in the game. And really, I guess that's kind of accurate for as far as the tail goes. Now we're getting to see the gun performance. That relatively fast reload, 2.5 seconds. We are able to just dump truck enemy destroyers. These are some very decently hard-hitting shells when we are able to do the damage. And they are very effective against destroyers. It's kind of what the American destroyers have always been good at, I'm sure. I think the American DD line is one of the more popular lines, at least when you start out the game. So I'm sure you've had experience with this line. But if you haven't, this is sort of the gist right here, right? We popped our smoke, and now we're just going to farm some battleships that are pushing into us. At this point, I do realize that the rest of the enemy ships are starting to push into us. This is one of the fallacies that you need to be wary of when you are playing American ships. One of the things you need to be worried about is enemies starting to push into your smoke screen. They start to push in. We need to make sure that even when the smoke screen disappears, we are outside of the detectability range, or else we are going to have a bad time, because we have no other way to disengage, and that is still important for a destroyer. So Charles Martel goes down. Vanguard now making his way around. Of course, we still have that Sommers around that we may need to worry about, but we've put a pretty good hurting on him as we pick up a torpedo hit on the Vanguard. And now we have these 2 battleships sort of slowly starting to push into us, and we have this island for some beautiful cover, and that's exactly what we are going to do as we begin to farm down the Vanguard. Of course, you can see a switch between HE and AP. HE is fine. It's American Destroyer HE. You know, you've played with it. It doesn't pen everywhere. It pens pretty much only in the superstructure. If a ship has some very pronounced superstructure for you to hit, it's a good farming day. It's a good farming year. The weather was good, and you're going to have a cash crop. If you're up against something with minimal superstructure or very heavily armored superstructure, it's going to be a lot more difficult, and especially if they're at your maximum range, because these shells get very floaty, and any sort of maneuvering they do is going to make hitting them that much harder. As far as what I think about this ship overall, what I think about the campaign, it's a fine campaign. I really enjoyed Hector last update because that was weird. It was fun. This is just what you know. This is no risks, vanilla ice cream. You know, it is it is absolutely the girl you bring home on Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? And overall, I'm having fun with this ship. It is a short 4-week campaign to get this ship. Do you need it? I don't think so. This isn't a groundbreaking ship, but for those American Destroyer players out there, I think they are going to enjoy the changes that are on her compared to the tech tree Sumner that you play just in the tech tree, right? The lack of torpedo range is the kind of large downside on this ship overall. And I like you saw we're still able to use our torpedoes for things. We're not using them as offensively as you would a lot of other destroyers out there. So just sort of be aware of what you are giving up on this ship in order to accomplish the benefits. Now, is this smokescreen gimmick worth the slightly worse torpedoes? I think it is. It may not be for you. This does swing this ship much more. That swings the pendulum much more into the gunboat. American destroyers were already gunboats, but this swings that pendulum even further into that camp. It takes away from it being a middle ground. It allows it to stand up to some other ships in a fight, but you still need to be prepared that you're not going to be the best gunboat out there. There are still other ships that have tricks up their sleeve. There are still Frieslands out there. There are still Loyangs. There are still Lunchens. There are still Gdansks. There are still other ships that have smoke and some sort of long-range detection combo that will outrange you, that you are going to have to play around. This isn't a free pass to winning, cast or to winning capture point engagements. Just be wary of that. But this is a fun little twist. It is a nice tier 8. I talked previously how I really only used Schroeder and Michelangelo to get my weeklies. This is another ship I'm going to add into that rotation. It's another ship that gives me a little bit of the variety that I so seek in this game, especially being so many years in. And for that, it gets my little stamp of approval. But, guys, that was the match. Let me know what you think down below. Do you like the video? If you did, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. See ya.